back to It's Chow Time Pod. It's your host, Red. I got another video today. It's actually an Asian video. I guess I don't know why people seem to think because I'm Asian, I need to do Asian videos. But she just happens to be an Asian creator. This is Lauren Chan. She does some relationship advice, and she's going over feminism and how women are a little upset that the manosphere is growing. So please put a like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate that. And let's get to the chow. It's chow time, guys.
Hey, Lauren here. Let's talk about feminists becoming furious that more men actually finally are starting to embrace masculinity. Specifically, we're going to be going through this BuzzFeed article together. It's not exactly new. It was posted in September of this year, but I actually only just found out about it. It's titled, "My Brother is So Far Gone, How Male Influencers Turned the Men in These People's Lives Toxic." Essentially, this article breaks down some personal stories from readers about how people in their lives, whether it be boyfriends, ex-boyfriends, a brother or a father in one case, have now become these disgusting misogynists after they started listening.
Oh, we're so disgusting.
Listening to, I guess you could call them manosphere influencers, people like Andrew Tate or the Fresh and Fit podcast. I've done a couple of different videos now about Andrew Tate, talking about how I don't think he is the boogeyman that a lot of media outlets have painted him to be. But at the same time, he does say things that I don't agree with. And now that he's back on Twitter, I'm actually getting a lot more of his takes than I had previously. And he's been on this weird pro-polygamy tirade lately. And it's just like, no, I'm not on board with that. But I do think he does say a lot of positive things to men at the same time. Things about pushing yourself to succeed and work harder and reach your goals. I think that is something that a lot of men need to hear nowadays, because I think far too many young people, and yeah, especially men, have fallen into this nihilism that is just not good for us. And then, like I said, the Fresh and Fit podcast, those two guys, they're also mentioned quite a bit in this article. But to be honest with you, I'm really not familiar.
It's funny that Fresh and Fit are on here. I can see why Andrew Tate is, but Fresh and Fit, I also can see why they're there. They do somewhat shit on women on their show quite a bit, but they also tell women the truth too. So I don't know.
With them, the most I know about them is that they got into some controversy, I think, because they were allegedly launching false copyright claims against critics. I'm not fully caught up with that situation. Correct me if I'm wrong about it, but based on what I was hearing,
she's right. Yeah, they did copyright claims to like ABBA and Preach and quite a few other content creators that use like portions of their videos when it's perfectly legal how YouTube works before you know, the videos and copyright issues things.
It seemed like that was the issue. And frankly, the little that I have heard from the Fresh and Fit podcast, I've not been a fan, because it seems like they are pushing and encouraging hookup culture, which I am not for. Whether you are a man or a woman, I don't think it's good for us. I don't.
You know what? I think she's right. Yeah, from what I can kind of tell, I don't watch too much Fresh and Fit just because I don't like the callousness of how Fresh and Fit kind of handles their show. But I guess it does push the hookup culture narrative, because it's pushing men to be strong, successful men, and so you can sleep wherever you want, in a sense. But and also in a sense, it's just options.
I don't think it's good for building families. I don't think it's good for long-term relationships. And actually the same could be said for Andrew Tate. I know he's very critical of women who have slept around, but it doesn't seem like he's doing very much to discourage men from interacting with those women or from partaking in that same, I think, toxic hookup culture themselves. In any case, though, my objections to these men...
No, Andrew Tate does not think men should be just sleeping around like willy-nilly. He does, say that you should settle with someone and find a solid mate.
Influencers are clearly very different from the objections that this BuzzFeed writer has. Because this author writes that these figures, referring to the likes of Tate and the Fresh and Fit guys, are seen as compelling to their followers because they are perceived as anti-mainstream, said Dr. Lisa Segura, author of The Incel Rebellion, The Rise of the Manosphere, and the Virtual War Against Women, and a professor who studies the crossover between gender and cybercrime. But of course, the contradiction is that it's very much part of the mainstream and validated invalidating the usual tropes about gender and violence against women, Segura told BuzzFeed News. And then, of course, the article tries to paint Andrew Tate as being complicit in violence against women because of that tweet he posted years ago. You know, that whole thing where apparently Tate said that rape victims bear responsibility for what happens to them. I keep seeing people mention that he said that, but I have yet to see the tweets or tweet in context for myself. And frankly, until I do, I'm just not willing to take these people at their word over what his ultimate message was. Look, here's the thing. You don't have to be a fan of Andrew Tate or the Fresh and Fit podcast. Feel free to criticize them. But I feel like this represents how in our society, we've lost nuance or the ability to say, yeah, I disagree with you, but I don't think you're a murderer. Like this article essentially goes...
America has definitely lost that. We cannot see eye to eye anymore and still be civil. That's a major problem in the West and in America right now. Like anybody that has any type of view that's different from you, you don't even want to associate yourself with them anymore. You don't even want to be friends. You don't even want to talk to them. Like just because they have different views doesn't make them inherently evil.
Straight to these men are encouraging violence against women, which no, I just don't think is true. And this next part of the article, this is something that really bothers me. It reads, what makes this particular strain of content creation so insidious is how it's packaged, most often as self-help for men who are struggling with real issues. On the surface, there's that appreciation of genuine problems that the men suffer in society. But these communities are not about support, Segura said. They are more concerned with creating this common enemy of women, society, and progressiveness. Instead, they're taught to self-loathe, hate women, and blame women and broader society for it. And this...
Do I teach you guys to self-loathe and hate women? I don't think I talk about that type of stuff. I mean, all we do is just point out the behaviors of women and, you know, teach men, watch what they do. Don't listen to what they say. You know, I don't think we inherently tell men to go beat women or anything like that. We tell men you should defend yourself. Like, you know, women that hit you, you shouldn't be with them. No one should be laying their hands on anybody. So
part of the article, I don't mean to sound rude, but frankly, it does piss me off, right? Because here we have this BuzzFeed writer and this feminist academic.
Just feminist academic and BuzzFeed. You already know it's going to be anti-men, and wokeism.
Who honestly probably only ever talk about men if it's to blame them for some problem in society or another. But yet when it comes to the few influencers or communities out there who are actually trying to be pro-man and improve the lives of men and help them make their lives better, they feel the need to attack them and accuse those influencers of encouraging self-loathing amongst men. It's like, I'm sorry, is Andrew Tate the one who's going on about male privilege or white privilege? Andrew Tate the one saying things like that all men are complicit in rape culture? No, I don't think so. That's your movement. That is progressiveness. Obviously,
Right, that's what she just said. Progressiveness and victimness. Like the feminists are what using that victim card and feeling victimized. Where men just, hey, you need to do better and be careful with these types of women. That's all we really kind of say.
Likes of BuzzFeed and academia aren't going to be fans of Andrew Tate because he does criticize progressivism and feminism, but it's like, don't pretend that the reason why you don't like the manosphere is because it's not helping men or it's encouraging self-loathing, because that's absolutely not the case. And now this next part of the article, this is where things get really interesting, because we hear these personal testimonials from women out there who've actually had men in their lives, I guess, turn toxic by the likes of Andrew Tate.
You know what? I was dating a girl, and as I was getting more into the manosphere and things like that, she also thought I was like women hating and becoming a women hater and things like that too. So I guess
going to be going through those stories, but first I do want to say a big thank you to today's sponsor, Keto with Lauren. So already, first testimonial we have is from someone named Kennedy Ezra, who is 26 and from Minneapolis. She writes, my brother is 20 years old. We were raised to be kind and nice people and generally respectful. Last year, he started to send me clips of Kevin Samuels saying things like, finally someone who gets it. He would make insinuations about needing to change the way he was because he was a beta. He began to say things like, women need to be reminded of their place, or therefore, Black women need to go back to being homemakers and supporting their Black kings. But one of the most startling behavior changes I've noticed was he began becoming more violent towards women. He began sharing posts on Facebook about how it's okay to beat women if they step out of line or how women are not being high value. Okay, I'm gonna stop myself right here and call BS on this story.
I agree with her. That's just, he became more violent and he posted things like, get out of here. I don't think almost any of the manosphere that I've ever watched has told men to be violent in any way. You know, never told anything. We tell men to check their emotions, right? So him being violent and not controlling his emotion is the opposite of what men, like the manosphere, teaches.
Like, if your brother was actually going around advocating for beating women, I feel like you would probably lead with that and also not
Right.
in the same sentence complain that he's referring to things like high value women.
Yeah.
Like, these, do you see why these are completely different problems? Like, even if you don't like the fact that your brother is referring to some women as high value and therefore others not, how on earth could you even group that in the same sentence as literally advocating hitting women? I don't believe it. That's why I think this woman is probably making things up to make her brother sound worse than he is. The sister continues, though, it's like he doesn't even recognize reality or the poor arguments that he's making. As the older sibling who spends so much time with advocacy in government and general community education, watching somebody you love fall down this pipeline, you're just sitting here trying to think, damn, where did I go wrong? She also writes, as someone who's queer, I think the most hurtful thing I've heard him say is that he believes that there's something mentally wrong with us. What I find interesting about this post is that this woman is pointing out everything she thinks her brother is wrong about, but not providing any details about what his logic might be. I mean, maybe he doesn't have any. He's literally just spouting statements with nothing to back it up, but I kind of don't believe that's the case. To the sister, I get that you're upset that you and your brother no longer see eye to eye about these different issues, but have you actually tried talking to him about why he thinks the way he does? If what you're saying is true, have you ever asked him, do you really believe that it's okay for men to hit women? How would you feel if someone hit me? I guess is that the answer is probably no, because this whole scenario is made up. What I'm guessing happened is that her brother shared an Andrew Tate video and maybe made a comment about how, you know, women should embrace being feminine or homemakers, and the sister has just kind of run off the deep end. But she does.
I think she's right. Lauren is probably 100% on that nail right there. That, yeah, her brother probably shared a couple videos, said a couple, like, you know, things that we do say, and they take it onto a whole nother beast on their own.
Right, to the toxic male influencers, I would say that you're creating a pathway for men to be openly violent toward marginalized people, such as Black women and LGBTQ folk, with little regard to the psychological implications that this violence has on them.
It's funny that it happens to be Black women. Not saying, you know, because she happens to be a Black woman and she thinks it's only Black women. If that was the case of what you're talking about, then it would be marginalizing all women, would it not be? Why is it in particular just Black women? So I think, yeah, it's just a little bit personal to her.
And the people they interact with. So really, this woman is also talking a lot about this violence and violence. She has yet to describe any actual violence, I just want to point out. She says, speaking honestly, I think my brother is so far gone that he wouldn't change. He is promoting change.org petitions to get Andrew Tate back on social media. Oh my goodness, he's promoting change.org petitions? Okay, clearly you just need...
So is he violent or is he petitioning things like...
to cut him out of your life, sis. I mean, we all know that a change.org petition to get Andrew Tate back on Instagram, that's pretty much just punching a woman in the face, right? And ironically, she closes by saying, I think he's found an echo chamber that shares what he believes and shares his thoughts, and it's pretty much solidified how he views women. She complains about her brother's echo chamber while writing into BuzzFeed. Now, if you ask me, you can't expect anyone to try to understand your views or take them seriously when you've made absolutely no effort to do the same for them. And while it doesn't seem like this sister has done that, at the very least, this next person, it seems like, did make an effort to try and understand where the manosphere is coming from. This writer is using a fake name, Emmy. She's 33 from Toronto. And she writes, my ex-boyfriend became increasingly possessive and would tell me I could not take a girls trip anywhere like Miami or Vegas. When we argued about me going to a nightclub, he would say that I could dance at family gatherings instead.
Possessive. Because we don't want them to go to Miami or Vegas by themselves with the girls, or go to nightclubs with the girls. How is that possessive? We men want to portray a certain image in their family and in their relationship. You know, you want to portray a good relationship to most people. Your wife or your partner going out doing whatever they want to do does not portray that.
So we're just one sentence into this letter, but still, I feel like I need to comment here. I'm not sure if this counts as being possessive. Like, if you don't want your girlfriend going to Miami or Vegas or to a nightclub because you think she's gonna cheat on you, then yeah, that's being possessive. And I think it sparks to deeper relationship issues if you don't trust the person you're seeing. But I mean, if you don't want your girlfriend going to a nightclub because she's pretty likely to be harassed at one, just because that's the environment that nightclubs breed. Everyone is just rubbing up against each other. I don't think that's being possessive. I think that's just caring about your girlfriend and preferring that maybe she be in healthier, safer environments. And really,
nope, they never think that we're ever caring when we say these things. I automatically think that we're controlling them or we're insecure. Like, we don't have to explain the exact reason why we don't want you to do a lot of things. Why? Because one, you're not going to understand. Two, you don't give a fuck anyways. And three, it's going to take so much of my energy to explain it to you. Sometimes it isn't even worth it.
That also goes for, I guess, the entire city of Las Vegas as well. And if you're a woman and hearing that from me, another woman, offends you, then I think maybe it's a good idea to ask yourself why going to a nightclub is so important. Is it really just to spend time with your friends and dance? Because there's nothing wrong with that, but there's also many other places, like this boyfriend said, that you could do this aside from a nightclub. And if at the root of your desire to go to a nightclub or Las Vegas with your girlfriends is to maybe get male attention from someone other than your boyfriend, well then,
probably 99% of all women,
your relationship has issues and maybe your boyfriend is right not to trust you in that case. But whatever, moving on. This woman writes, we had arguments over his consumption of these content creators because it was so concerning and he was repeating so much of their messaging, like women should be feminine, fit, friendly, cooperative, and submissive. And toxic femininity is women who are entitled to things just because they are women, and feminism has taught women to hate men.
Nothing wrong out of those statements so far, and for her to think that that is him being toxic is him just putting out facts about your side of the argument.
See absolutely nothing wrong with any of those statements, but clearly they are against modern day feminism. But there's a difference that these women don't understand between not being a feminist versus being a toxic man. They're not the same thing. She writes, he would laugh and repeat Kevin Samuels' catchphrase, danger zone, which refers to women who are approaching an age, 27 to 35, where they are no longer desirable, according to Samuels. Not what your girlfriend who falls into that age range wants to hear. It was an incredibly upsetting experience. It was like he...
It's the truth. If you don't want to fucking hear it, too bad. It is what it is. You fall in that category. You should have made better decisions. You made better choices. Just like men, if they're in their 30s, 35s, and they're broke and have no fucking assets, it's also their fault. We don't blame anybody for it. We blame the men. They should have done better.
Turned on me. Kevin Samuels and Fresh and Fit are sometimes hour-long shows. He would play them all the way through, and eventually it was daily. I am a feminist, but in the hopes of trying to be open-minded and maybe salvage my relationship, I watched a lot of this crap in his company and on my own to try and find value, to understand it and him, and honestly, it messed with my head at times. Okay, so
probably messed with her head because it made her question her feminism.
Seriously for this girlfriend for at least trying to listen to this content in order to understand what her boyfriend saw in it, but she could have gone even further and, just asked him directly what he liked about it in addition to consuming it herself. She writes, we broke up 1 year ago, and when I began on the dating apps again, I noticed an increase of men regurgitating messaging from these creators, including things in profiles like seeking a feminine woman.
Seeking a feminine woman. What's wrong with that? Just like when women say, I want a tall man or a man that drives a Lambo. I don't think a feminine woman is that outrageous of a request.
I am a high value man, etc.
All right, that one's a little bit stupid. You don't call yourself a high value man. Like, that's just dumb putting on that fucking dating app. So
Because I was so familiar with these sorts of red pill vibes, it was an immediate swipe left. I would also ask men on dates their thoughts on these people because it's so awful. My new partner refers to Fresh and Fit as those jackasses, and we are very happy together. So I'm sorry that this woman's relationship didn't work out, but I honestly don't understand what was so toxic about this boyfriend, because let's not forget that is the title of this article, how these influencers turned men in these women's lives toxic. As far as I can tell, the worst thing this guy ever did was, poke fun at women who are getting older and maybe aren't as desirable as they were when they were younger. And as someone who's also in the danger zone, like, I get why you might not like that if your boyfriend is saying these things and you're that age and you guys aren't married. Doesn't make it any less true, but I understand being hurt by it.
Shout outs to Lord on that one. Doesn't make it any less true.
But I mean, really, if the most concerning thing your boyfriend has said is that women should be feminine, fit, friendly, cooperative, and submissive, or that feminism has taught women to hate men, then it kind of seems like you might be the political radical in this situation, not your boyfriend. And there are several more of these stories in this article, but let's just go through at least one more together. This is from Kamala, 23 in the UK. She writes, I met my boyfriend at university and we've been dating for just under a year. I was really attracted to his work ethic. He's very determined and I feel like he has influenced me in a lot of ways as well. He always supported me on big things like helping me get a job, and he's loyal, which I really like. But he did have several traits that Andrew Tate seemed to exhibit when I first met him, but not to the extent of now. It's gotten much worse. He's always viewed the world as a contest, a survival of the fittest kind of thing, but because
I think a lot of men view it that way because it is for them. Nothing's handed to us. I mean, as soon as we're like 14, we get shitted on pretty hard. Women turn 14, 16, they have the world at their fingertips almost because of their looks. Men, you're a fucking high school kid that doesn't even know how to talk. You don't have no muscles. You have no fucking money. What the fuck are you really gonna do?
Everyone's more aware of mental health and they're very accommodating nowadays, he has a different point of view. So when Andrew Tate started saying things like how it doesn't matter how upset you are, he got really excited and he's like, this man is speaking the truth. No one else speaks like this.
I mean, when I was younger, the anti-censorship was huge. Americans were so against censorship. Now that we've gotten a lot more liberal and a lot more onto the left side, the liberal is literally requesting for people to get censored. And this is one thing I always talked about with some of the girls that I, date. They're like, oh yeah, there should be censorship. There should be censorship. Okay. What happens when the right gets into power then? And they censor everything that the left says? Don't you think that's going to be a problem? And most of them say yes, right? But when you give the government or these corporations this kind of power, they aren't always going to be on your side. That's the problem. So, yeah, you're going to get censored up your ass when the government does whatever they want to do.
Andrew Tate is his idol, basically. He has started making ruder and more worrying jokes that are misogynistic and sexually demanding without apology. Oh no, jokes. The horror. Note how she doesn't comment on whether the jokes are funny or not, which I feel like should be relevant to
To us, we'd probably laugh our asses off, but I'm sure most women in the room probably just be silent about it.
whether you appreciate a joke, but I'm guessing she's not laughing in any case. She says, some of his remarks have been disturbing, and now it's for me to rethink our relationship based on my future long-term goals. I think maybe if he actually started treating me how Andrew Tate says he would treat his women, like not letting me out clubbing, not letting me have male friends, controlling my style, things like that, but he doesn't do any of that yet. It's just the rude rhetoric. I've confronted him about it several times, and it's got to a really bad point, but he just stopped watching it around me or mentioning it to me. He's so influenced by this man, no one can say anything against him. I think it's kind of scary how for some women, feminism and progressivism, it's such a religion. It's such a cult that, a man merely making the wrong joke that goes against their cult is enough to encourage them to write into BuzzFeed about how they've become toxic. I mean, to this woman's own admission, the way that her boyfriend treats her isn't wrong. It isn't sexist. She's still with him.
I mean,
She
he makes
says that
funny
she would break
jokes.
up with him if he ever did anything like that. But like
Sounds
I
like a
said, it's
solid
really,
guy.
it's these women who are so radical in their progressivism that they can't stand, they can't tolerate any deviation from what they think the perfect male feminist should be, which is also kind of ironic because they're dating these men in the first place. I
Yeah.
mean, we have to ask ourselves, if these men were typical male feminists, would these women even be interested in them in the first place? Because
No
there is
dice.
that old trope, which I think is a trope for a reason, because it's
Right.
true that, you know, liberal women can rail against right-wing alpha male types all they want, but let's face it, if someone like Andrew Tate, a wealthy, successful, muscular, I guess dominant man, actually came up to any of these women who are complaining about their boyfriends not being feminist enough,
They'll all become
odds
pygmies.
are these women would drop any male feminist in order to be with Andrew Tate
Correct.
in a second. And ultimately, I think the reason why so many feminists are scared of the manosphere growing, it's not because of anything like misogyny or actual violence
Nope.
being committed against women. It's because strong men means that they, the feminists, would lose power. If men are strong, it means
100.
that feminism loses control, and that is what they are so scared of. But that's pretty much all I have to say for now, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It helps me out so much. Until next time.
That was interesting, Chow. Lauren's take on things, or from the women view, is actually pretty interesting. You know, it's funny that she defends us in most of these aspects, just because she can analyze a lot of these stories, and yeah, they definitely do sound one-sided. So I mean, people were telling me that I should make more Asian content. Not that I really care too much about it. She just happened to be Asian, so I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll just toss this in there. So please like and subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate that, and I'll catch you guys next time. It's chow time.